mission of the Bartlesville Police Department is to enhance the quality of life in our community by working cooperatively with the public and within the framework of the United States Constitution to enforce the laws, preserve the peace, reduce fear, and provide a safe environment for all of our citizens. Hello and welcome to Behind the Badge. I'm Police Chief Tracy Rolls and I'm excited to be with you today. Today in studio we have a perspective from a police wife, Beth Gray, who has been the wife of a police officer for several years. And so we wanted her to really talk to you guys about what it's like to be married to a police officer, because it's different, I think.
Very different.
So, Beth, are police wives treated differently in social settings?
I have never experienced that. I've been fortunate to be in several different settings, and I've never had that. I will tell you that if there is another police wife in the group, they're going to congregate together. They're going to end up together because there's just some things that other wives aren't going to understand that a police wife is going to understand much better.
Sure. So what's the most difficult thing about being the wife of a police officer?
Gosh, there's several, but I think probably in the beginning, it was the shift work. It can be days, evenings, nights, getting used to your husband missing Christmas, Thanksgiving, anniversaries, birthdays. But, in time you learn that Santa Claus can come at any day, any time. And so once you get used to that, it works out better. But that's probably the hardest thing in the beginning to get used to.
And so you mentioned missing holidays and family type events. That has to have some impact on the kiddos as well. So how do you juggle that police wife, police mom, and make the kids understand that, they're a little bit different? Mommy or daddy's not home with them today on Christmas because they have to be out working when everyone else's mommy and daddy are home with them. So how do you juggle that and explain to the kiddos that it's different, but we're still normal?
Sure. I'm fortunate that my kids are they're pretty into the groove of the police. I don't know if it's just because they've been around it for so long, but they're pretty well adjusted. If my husband has to work late, or if he gets called out during weird hours of the night, that'll get their attention. My daughter is probably the most sensitive. She will, "Where's Dad? Why is Dad gone? Is he okay?" Of course, I joke that my son doesn't notice as long as there's dinner. That's all he cares about. But my teenage daughter is very sensitive to that, and she wants to make sure Dad's okay.
Sure. And does social media have anything to play in that, or even mainstream media?
It does, because the media is so mean. They make police officers out to be the bad guys. My daughter, she's out of high school now, but when she was in high school, that was tough. Kids can be so cruel. And so there were numerous times when they would say, awful things to her about being the cop's kid. Don't hang around with her. Don't say anything to her because, she'll rat you out. And it's tough. It's tough for them. But again, they're pretty used to it. So they do have those issues that come up here and there, and we try to work through those. So they do pretty well.
And that's one thing I don't think people realize is, police officers who have kids in school, it's not the kid's choice that their parent is a police officer. So we have to be very mindful sometimes of how we treat people just because of what their parents choose to do. And that goes for more than just being a police officer. So as a wife, and this might be a question that we all know the answer to, but it's still worth asking, your biggest fear as a police officer's wife?
I think it's probably the biggest fear for every spouse, whether it's a wife or a husband. You're always scared that they're not going to come home. And you try not to think about it because, he is everything to me. And I don't want to even think about what it would be like if he didn't come home. But in reality, he goes out and does what all these officers do every single day. And the world changes every day. So that is always my biggest fear, that he just will not come home today.
Sure, our society seems to have really gotten different when it comes to the interaction with police officers. And part of that is law enforcement's fault. We're to blame in part of that, because sometimes I don't think we communicate well enough with the public or educate the public enough, so there's that fear. But then on the other side, we have good police officers, good, strong, ethical, professional men and women going out every day,
Absolutely.
putting their life on the line to protect people they don't even know, and to be disrespected because of the work in which you choose to do that helps others is a little disturbing. And so it's difficult, I'm sure, from the spouse perspective or the kid perspective to see your husband, your wife, or your dad or your mom being disrespected for helping others.
Right, and like I said, my daughter is the most sensitive, and she's very close to her father, so even when they're trash talking just officers in general, she takes it very personal.
Right, and then to have to go to school and be singled out or labeled as something different just because your parent chooses to protect people that they don't know is a little bit odd to me. But it is societal, and I think officers' kids, and you may agree with this, officers' kids and officers' spouses are a little bit tougher than the normal people.
Very much so. You have to be. It's not a question. You have to be.
And I think often we take spouses for granted, because the spouse didn't choose the career.
Yeah.
The officer did, whether it's the husband or the wife, whichever, male or female. The officer is the one who chose that career. And sometimes I think that we, speaking from the officer side, we forget that we drag our spouse and we drag our kids into our choices. And we just expect them to be okay and be supportive. And I think we often fail as police officers because of that. And I think that's why the divorce rate amongst law enforcement is so high.
Unfortunately, you're correct. It is very high.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of communication or miscommunication, or just the fact that we're dragging them along to something that they didn't sign up for. So, as a longtime police wife, what is a piece of advice that you could give to other police wives that may help them along their journey?
Oh goodness, probably the best advice I could ever give is just to lean on one another, lean on that other police wife. I've been so blessed. There are two ladies that I have been great friends with for more years than I can count, probably knocking 30 years, that have been they're police wives, and they have helped me through the good times and the bad. So lean on those other wives. They understand, they're there for you, and they're there for you and your kids too. So that's how I always made it.
And that goes for police husbands as
Absolutely.
well, because there's a group of those. I know we talk about police wives, but spouses use
general.
that support and gain that trust and that understanding. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
I don't envy your position, just like I don't envy my wife's position. It's difficult for you spouses, because there's things that you don't understand that we can't tell you, and even if we did tell you, you still wouldn't understand. But it is the way that it has to be. So we're really grateful for you guys, and thanks for being here today.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you guys for another great week of Behind the Badge. We are thankful that you're here and taking in what we have to say. Be sure to visit the Bartlesville Police Department Facebook page. See us on YouTube at Behind the Badge, and on Instagram at BPD Badge. So until next time, take care and stay safe.